When you have a scene where Stephen Baldwin's underwater fighting a shark, and then suddenly cuts to him in the hospital, and they told him he blacked out, you know your movie's a pile of shit. And yes, I'm talking about the second film on this Mega Shark collection pack, Shark in Venice, starring Stephen Baldwin and Vanessa Johansson, who is the older sister of Scarlett Johansson. Came out in 2007, although on IMDb it says 2008, so I don't know which is right. Um, the plot, basically the plot, you have Stephen Baldwin, who plays his character David, and I'm reading off the back here, and he must face this vicious killer sharks that are protecting the long lost fortune of Medici, or the mafia will kill his girlfriend. Basically, these sharks, they have infiltrated Venice, and they're, hanging around the canals, killing people. And then also, like I said, Stephen Baldwin's trying to stop the mafia from getting the treasure. And who gives a fuck? Who gives a shit? Because, yeah, this movie was pretty bad. And I don't know which is worse, Toxic Shark or this film. Stephen Baldwin, I know people pick on the guy. I like him in Usual Suspects. I like him in that, but he's not good here. Vanessa Johansson, you know, definitely not the good Johansson. I didn't really care for her character. Scarlett Johansson, she's a better actress. Um, and I did write a few things down, but just to help me again, just to help me sort of retain some of the bullshit because it's going to be hard to remember, you know, because after I watch these films, it's like a blur. I want it to be a blur. I wanted to just forget and just have a total recall, but I can't because I want, I want to talk about these films. So, well, first off, the idea, the sharks coming to Venice. Like, for what was the purpose? Why? Why Venice? It's like in Jaws 4. It didn't make sense, which I know it had something to do with the book. The sharks going to Jamaica, but it's still a stupid notion. And again, with Venice, it wasn't interesting. And when you see Venice, you can tell that some of it's blue screen, green screen, yellow screen, white screen. It just looks bad, cheaply made. In some shots, you can tell that someone went to Venice and filmed some of the locale, but Venice just didn't really. It's not, again, for what purpose? And it doesn't make sense. Why would great whites, or sharks camp around Venice, the canals of Venice, killing people off? Again, it just doesn't make sense. And I know I shouldn't think about it because it's that bad of a film. It gets a 2.5 in IMDb, and I can see why. Um, but, and then go to the notes a little bit here. You got some of the attacks. The sharks, it's hard to, like, there's some practical shots. You can tell there's some shots where it's stock footage, but they probably stole footage from other types of films. I mean, just the way it's filmed and the way that some of the attacks happened in this film, it's like really quick cut. It's a lot of red in the water where you can't see what's going on. It's hard to tell what's going on, and some of it's blurred. Like, again, I can't remember some of these kills. Like, what memorable kills? Like with Toxic Shark. I didn't even talk about the kills because, I can't remember one memorable kill. There wasn't one kill that I recall. Same thing with this one. It's either, one or two, you know, like there's this one scene where it's really bad, where this guy the shark jumps out of the water, eats the guy, and then goes right for the camera. Like this guy and this girl, they're on this date, and the girl's like, "Oh, don't do that," and the shark jumps out of the water, grabs the guy, and goes right for the camera. And it's just very cartoony. CGI is really bad, and just really bad graphics. Um, and again, whenever the shark approaches, it's either some kind of stock footage, or it's it's just it's not good. And the whole subplot, well, really the sharks are the subplot. The whole plot is Stephen Baldwin trying to retrieve this treasure, going after this treasure because his father was killed, going after this treasure. But I just didn't give a shit. And I didn't give a shit about this villain. I don't remember the villain's name. I didn't even write it down. I don't remember the actor, because I thought he was badly acted. And there are some action scenes in this film, but it's nothing. You got one shootout in this hotel. Then you got this stupid action scene where Stephen Baldwin, you have this one goon who's going at him with a chainsaw, and Stephen Baldwin picks up this little end table and like is trying to fight him off, and the guy just cuts it right in half. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? And Stephen Baldwin can't throw a punch. I mean, but just that alone, Stephen Baldwin in the action scene, I can't buy Stephen Baldwin as an action guy or kicking ass in this case. I just, again, the action scenes suck. And, by the end anyway, you find out that the bad guy, he's the one that brought the sharks over, to sort of, I guess, protect the treasure. And it's like, it's really stupid. And again, I talked about that scene where you got this really stupid scene where Stephen Baldwin's underwater and he's fighting off the shark with a knife. And again, a lot of it's quick cut. And then suddenly it cuts to him in the hospital because he blacked out. I'm like, ah. I'm blacking out. I'm blacking out from that. This movie makes me want to black out. How do you... Stephen Baldwin, just that notion alone, underwater fighting a shark, really. And then suddenly he blacks out. It cuts to him in the hospital because he blacked out. Oh my God. And I'm trying to think what else. See what else I wrote here. Because again, I would have a hard time, I would struggle trying to remember some of this shit. I really would. But, and by the end, I mean, the shark eats the bad guy, and whoop-de-whoop, and yippee-yip, who gives a shit? So, Shark in Venice, it's pretty bad. It deserves a 2.5 in IMDb. And again, I don't know which is worse, Toxic Shark or this film. I almost don't want to say, I could say Toxic Shark because at least nothing makes sense in that. Shark in Venice is really bad. And Stephen Baldwin, taking on a shark, you can't buy. Now, both have the same running time. They're both around an hour and 25, each. So, it goes pretty fast. But even then, it's like, it's a lot of dull spots. Like there's spots where it's boring and it's just badly made. And again, I didn't care for Vanessa Johansson's character. I didn't care for the villain. Um, the utilization of the sharks were pretty bad. A lot of it, again, was stock footage, or I think it looks like footage that they stole. The kills, it was hard to tell because it was quick cut or it was blurry, sort of you can't tell what is happening. Stupid shit, stupid scenes, stupid kills. Venice, I don't get why they use that as a backdrop, especially with this, having sharks in the canals. And the sharks were just a subplot. The main plot was Stephen Baldwin going after this treasure. And, it's like, you know, other films that have done that 10 times better, and they didn't need sharks. So, yeah, it deserves a 2.5 in IMDb. Um, but that's my rant on Shark in Venice, and stay tuned for my next review, Malibu Shark Attack. Sounds like a lot of fun.